Alright guys, so welcome to MADLab video tutorial day 2. So here's step 1 for today. Step 1 is make sure that you have your materials to start. So most of you guys have submitted photos of your materials, so I see that should be already done, but just double check that they're all there. Maybe some of you all even found some materials even after you post the photo, so go ahead and have that ready. I want you to just start seeing how you can manipulate each material. What I don't want is for you to just turn any random object into an animal by like gluing on some features. I want you to really think about designing something that just so happens to be inspired by an animal. So what I want you to do is to expand your idea of what you can use. If you are struggling to find some materials, don't be afraid to think about how you can kind of change those things to kind of highlight the features that you want to be inspired by in your animal. So I'm going to show you guys my first attempt. I had found a wooden peg and I found this bread clip. And I thought about my mind map where I said that the beak of an owl is essentially a small triangle. So I cut the bread clip in half and turned it into a small triangle. And then I used paper to draw out the eyes of the owl because I figured the eyes were the most important part. And you know those weird little like eyebrow thingies that they have. I glued that onto this wooden peg and voila. And that's what I want you guys to not do. That technically is inspired by an animal, but it's not wearable. I can't put it on anywhere. It also doesn't really look that good. It is inspired by an animal, and yes, I can recognize it, but am I really improving on anything? Is it really a design? Not necessarily. So what I'm going to use next is soda cans and cardboard boxes, like I mentioned in the last video. I'm going to use gloves to cut the soda cans open just because I don't want to cut my hands on the new sharp edges. And I'm just going to use some basic scissors to cut the tops off the cans and flatten out the material. You don't need anything fancy, scissors should work fine. Next, I drew out the feather shapes on the side of the aluminum can, and I'll cut it out. I noticed that the top of the cans already have an oval shape that I can use for the eye. So that's what I want you to remember. When you start working with your materials, see which ones already give you a natural advantage. So what advantages does the thing you're working with give you, and how does it help communicate about an animal? For instance, if you were to use a plastic bag and you wanted to maybe do a porcupine, that might not work too well, but it could work really well for something like a jellyfish. So see what materials can work naturally. Going back to my mind map, I mentioned that I wanted to use silver or gold to highlight the elegance, something that I kind of felt the owls communicate. I wanted to incorporate that to my owl design, so I'm going to use the inside of the soda cans instead of the outside so that even though my soda cans are all different colors, you're still only getting the silver part of the design. And then I'm going to go back to my owl's eye design. To put this detail into it, I took the top of the soda can and I kind of cut it and I bent it to look like the wise owl as best as I could. And boom, silver on silver, which was a little too subtle on my part. So I'm going to do what I said to do in the last video, which is to go back and this time I'm going to try again on the eye. I got what I wanted, but it didn't look very good. And that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, I want these designs to actually improve on things, not necessarily just meet a quota. So this time I'm going to use the outside of my can, and I'm going to make the owl's eye in red to give it kind of a hint of color and make it stand in contrast to the silver feathers. I used masking tape on the back of the feathers to make sure that they're stable, but I could have also just twisted the material onto itself. For the cardboard example, I'm going to go past this really quick. The key is to take advantage of the folds in your cardboard box that are already there. Normally when working with cardboard, I'd tell you guys to use an X-Acto blade and hot glue, but since not everybody at home, most people at home don't have a home studio setup, you might not have those options. So minimize the amount of cutting into cardboard that you can do. I'm going to take advantage of this fold. I over here have my sunglasses that I'm going to use as reference, and I noticed that the glasses only fold on those two parts, so I'm going to take advantage of the fold on the Goya box and make that where my glasses would fold normally. Minimize the amount of cuts to your cardboard that you can do so that you don't have to tape as much. Remember, origami, which builds up forms, is actually just about folds. Folds build volume or space. Speaking of folds, let's go on and check in how Nina's piece is coming along. It seems that Nina started off with her materials of colored paper, and she was lucky enough to have some scissors, so she was able to cut the paper into these feather shapes. But you also noticed that Nina decided to fold them right in half so they could build some volume. After that, she cut the sides of the paper to reflect the shape, and also added very minimal amount of glue. The feathers are layered on top of each other, and then she thus attached them to that metal ring that she found earlier. So guys, that's it for day 2 on MADLab's assignment. Make sure to upload photos of your work in progress. If your material is frustrating you, don't be afraid to start over or to start a different technique. A lot of what you guys will learn will come from working with the material directly. Upload the photos of your work in progress to the stream, and remember that the finished product is not due until the end of day tomorrow. Good luck, and I'll upload a video tomorrow with more information.